Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user ThrowR3LA. Me, 26 female with my 26 male boyfriend of 6 months can stop feeling anxiety and like I'm walking on eggshells after being accused of cheating. My boyfriend and I have had a happy relationship for most of the time we've been together, and I love him to death. We live together and do most things together. We both work full time and there is pretty much no time when he doesn't know what I'm doing. Some background. His ex cheated on him a lot 5 years ago. However, in the past month, he has twice accused me of cheating on him. Not only asks me questions implying suspicion, but he flat out accused me and said things like, "I know when you're lying." I wasn't lying. The first time was after I went to a Zumba class on my own one night. I had told him the location of the class and the time. He even saw me looking it up on my laptop. I didn't know anything was wrong. The next day, he treated me terribly, most of the day ignoring me and doing things to purposely make me feel bad, like not letting me know he wasn't going to be home when I was there. During the day, he had said he was so exhausted he would probably be asleep when I got home. He was at a bar. Shortly after I got home, I called him and he came back only to feign calmness before laying out all his evidence. The evidence. 1. I drove to my class when the place was nearby. It was dark out and not the safest walk, plus I was going to work out. 2. I talked about the class too much as to be suspicious. I was trying to include him and I was excited about it afterward. My bad. 3. I had been acting distant. No, I don't think so. I always try to pay attention to him and be affectionate. And last but certainly not least, number 4. I had semen in the panties I wore that night. This last one hurt the most because it most certainly was not semen. It was regular female secretions after I worked out. I had to show him my credit card receipt from the class and he still seemed hesitant to believe me. I have never cheated on him. The second time he randomly told me one day that I smelled funny. I smelled like vagina. This was embarrassing to me as I had just gotten home from work, and who wants to be told they smelled like that all day? It's possible I did cause I had skipped showering the night before, but he of course used this to accuse me of cheating again. The fact that I got upset to him? This proved it even more. I feel like I'm being held ransom by my own bodily functions. Now I just feel constantly like I have to over-explain every little thing I do. He knows my phone and computer codes, and while I don't think he is snooping through them, or else why would he be accusing me, the idea of it makes me uncomfortable. Because I like to be able to have private conversations. I don't have access to any of his electronics and would never ask. But if I changed the passwords, I'm sure that would lead to, "Why did you do that?" at some point, and more accusations. He has said he is going to go see a counselor for this, but in the meantime, I'm stuck feeling like my life is being extremely scrutinized at all times. It is giving me serious anxiety, even though I haven't done anything wrong, and part of me is terrified he will only selectively explain what's going on to the counselor, even if it's subconscious, and will end up reinforcing his paranoia. How should I deal with this? I have talked to him and reassured him that I am not cheating and told him that this cannot continue, but even if it doesn't continue, I still feel this way now. Well, OP, in my opinion, your future ex-boyfriend has certainly been hurt by the previous cheating because he's now projecting it on you. 6 months. You've been in this relationship for 6 months and he's accusing you of cheating because he's looking for it. Of course, he was hurt in the past, but that is not your fault. What his ex-girlfriend did to him has nothing to do with you. Personally, after the first time he accused you of cheating, if he didn't believe it, that's when the relationship should have ended. Particularly when he went looking through your underwear to find his evidence. Wow. Honestly, OP, this isn't your problem to fix. This is something that he needs to work on, his ability to trust people. And he needs to understand that if somebody is a cheater, that doesn't mean that everybody else is. And it's not on you to fix his issue. I think I said that twice, but the reason is because you're trying to fix it. You're trying to prove to him that it wasn't you. He should simply trust your word. But of course, somebody who has been cheated on is gonna find that very difficult. And that's where we go into that horrible loop that's just gonna end with a relationship anyways. Now, regarding your electronic codes, actually, I would change them. And if he confronts you about it, then the question is, why the F are you snooping on me? To me, that's a deal breaker. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Rainy Reminder says, your boyfriend is grooming you to accept increasingly controlling behavior. This happened to a friend of mine with the guy she was with when we met. He started off just wanting to know where she was all the time and ended up keeping her awake to scream at her for hours on end if she was 15 minutes later getting home than he thought was reasonable. He accused her of sleeping with all of our male classmates, said she was going to the gym to hook up with guys, and if she dressed up, said she was doing it to lure men so she could cheat with them. He became violent and physically abusive, and he threatened her pet's life. I don't think he's redirecting anything. I think he's abusive and is starting to show his true colors. Tortitudes says, not going to repeat everything everyone else said, but I truly hope you are taking it to heart and stop excusing this with, he's so great any other time. He's not. So you are being punished for going to Zumba class and that equals you're effing other guys. But he's totally okay to be at the bar late at night. Could you imagine what you'd get if you went to the bar late at night? This is controlling and keeping you in his own version of a small Polly Pocket house. And OP responds, I often go to a neighborhood bar by myself when he doesn't want to come. He was actually just across the street and came home as soon as I got back from work. Not that it makes it any less purposefully hurtful. Ragdoll Proletariat says, when is his appointment with a therapist? Has he actually told you a date he is going, or is it vague? And what effort is he making in the meantime? It sounds like he has acknowledged that his behavior is wrong and is making no attempt to stop it at all. Has he looked into CBT books in the meantime? 7 Cups, meditation, a support group, anything? Has he even apologized? I would be very wary of someone who admits a behavior is wrong, continues to do it, and continues to feed the mindset behind it by looking through your laptop for evidence or trying to find inconsistencies in your stories. What has he been doing in the last 5 years to combat this? And OP responds, he does do meditations sometimes actually. I think he did tell me the date of the appointment, but it was a couple of weeks out from the first time he did this. I don't remember when exactly. He was waiting to get his insurance going so he wouldn't have to pay out the wazoo. Your last question actually kind of brought it home for me. He was doing a lot of drugs to combat this, I suppose. He has pretty much gotten clean now, tapering, and I was also on the same crap for a long time, but I'm in recovery now. I don't really see that alone as a deal breaker considering my own history, but in this context, it sounds much worse. Additional information from OP's comments. I don't think he is doing it on purpose. Each time he has apologized and said he has scheduled his counseling appointment. And as I said in the post, he had an ex that cheated a lot. I realized that this has nothing to do with me and is not really my problem as I am not her, and I have said as much to him. I have tried to ask him about his reasons for thinking his evidence is actual evidence, and he blamed it on his past and anxiety issues, so I suppose that points to insecurity. Also, I asked him if he was cheating because at some point I started to become suspicious myself. I know about that technique, but I don't really see when he would have time to do that. He doesn't really do much outside the house without me besides work. I do sometimes and have been trying to encourage him to find his own hobbies. He hasn't been living in this area that long, so he is still settling in. We moved in together because we were long distance and he ended up finding a better job where I'm at. I knew it was soon, but after a trial run of a few weeks, everything seemed to be going great, and we just decided to stay moved in together rather than him paying for a separate place. Now, he got my passwords from random situations where he needed to use my devices. Like when we took a long trip together, he used my phone to look up GPS directions while I was driving because his phone was out. He used my computer a few times when he was visiting my place and didn't have his with him. He didn't go out of his way to ask for them for no reason. I wouldn't have allowed that. I've never had a reason to ask for his passwords. I guess I could change my passwords, I just really don't want to have to deal with more accusations over nothing. And I know that would make me look suspicious. However, I have been deleting some things from my Facebook, chat and texts because I know he could access it all if he wanted to. None of it would point to cheating, but sometimes I have conversations with friends about their personal lives or mine that I don't think he needs to be privy to. I think that's my right as an independent human. I have told him that this can't continue. I just really would like to at least keep trying until he's had a chance to get therapy. It's just becoming increasingly hard for me not to lose my crap. Alright, well, the community took a different angle than I did, and they actually pointed to controlling behavior, and I do think they have a point on that, and OP gave us a lot of background to kind of understand their situation better. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's continue with that update. Well, it ended, but not because I particularly wanted it to. I can't believe the level of drama that was achieved yesterday. I mean, he said he was cheated on in the past, but now I'm wondering if his ex actually cheated on him, or if he had also found his evidence of the cheating, or if he really is this effed up about women from that experience. Anyway, I changed the passcode on my phone the day after writing my first post here, and it seems that he must have been checking it because the timing was just too good. He was acting weird all night after not sleeping or whatever. I was sleeping fine. Went to work, got some normal sounding texts, then all of a sudden a bunch of Fs, and I got told he got fired from his job. Seemed weird. He made it seem like he had gotten in a fight with a coworker he doesn't like, but now I'm pretty sure he just quit. Anyways, we spent all day texting about it. He ends up saying some crap like he doesn't like it here, he moved here to be with me, and wants to go back home. I was really hurt because I don't think that's even true, but whatever. So I get home and he's packed up like 1/3 of his crap and immediately starts laying into me to tell him the truth. Great, it's another cheating debacle. I got pissed. He tells me he went through my location services history on my Google account. I hadn't had a chance to change my laptop password yet, and saw that I went to a hotel and a random apartment. It must be cheating, right? Except I work in a busy downtown area and I sometimes eat at a hotel restaurant, and the apartment belongs to my married friends. That, and it looked like the location services were not particularly accurate because I know where I work and it's not where the app thinks I do. He kept hinting at something about a suite 250 and directions to get somewhere. I didn't know what in the world he was talking about, then it finally clicked. I had a volunteer orientation at a hospital several weeks ago and put a note on my phone directing me to the place. I wanted to volunteer, but they do drug tests and I like the ganja. Later, after all of this, I looked up some details about how location history works. Apparently, if the app is running in the background, it defaults to the nearest cellular tower to save battery, which is also the least accurate way to gather location data. Guess where that nearest cell tower to my workplace is? On top of that hotel. Now, the note that he was so upset about was my hospital orientation, and he thought I had intentionally written my sister's name on it to mislead him. But the woman doing the volunteer coordination had the same name. It also had the street on it, conveniently ignored in the accusations, which would have only appeared in my location history that day and would have clearly shown the hospital. Anyway, he packed the rest of his crap up and left town. Gone. Very far away. He doesn't have anywhere else to go here. He actually told me to never contact him again because I am clearly such a lying, dirty floozy that I go places and make notes of things on my phone. Meh. I don't know why being able to point out the exact flaws in the logic and explain them makes me feel less crazy. I'm not telling any of this to him, but still, he now has the pleasure of feeling self-righteous. It doesn't matter that he is wrong, he is still the victim. This whole thing just sucks. He is very manipulative and is still convinced that I'm lying to myself or him about everything. He even texted my friends at 2 a.m. last night, whose apartment was on my location history, to ask them how much they paid in rent. I'm sure he was just trying to find out if they really live there, but why would I lie about that? Seriously. He is still texting me with evidence. The level of psycho is too damn high. I really wanted it to work out, but I can't live like that, and he knows he has issues. Well, OP, you're certainly right. That is no way to live. It's a good thing that this whole relationship ended, so I'm gonna count that as a positive update. Hopefully, he gets the help that he needs to work on his security or his insecurities and get through them. In any case, OP, this whole thing is over for you, so here's wishing you the best in the future. Thank you for sharing, OP, and take care. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Shoulda Known Too. Neighbor tries to flex, gets the shaft instead. This might be long, but worth the read, I think. Spec home built with a $20 million budget on a 16-month schedule. The next door neighbor immediately qualifies as a complete douchehead. Knows everybody, including the principals of the company I work for. At the very beginning of the work, he asks for a row of redwood trees to be planted as screening between the properties. Principals grant his request as a good neighbor gesture, $31,000. Every step of the project, he either stands out at the end of the drive taking pictures or he's flying his drone over the lot. He starts asking questions about whether or not work in progress is covered under the permit. He confides that he has obtained a copy of the permit and a set of the plans. One day, he asked us for a meeting to discuss the redwood trees. Yes, those trees. He comes over at the appointed time and introduces his wife's landscape architect. Famous guy apparently, and he tries pulling some muscle moves by trying to convince us that the redwood trees are stealing their water. They also don't fit his vision for the project they are considering, which will be a total side and backyard makeover with walkways, stone walls, fountains, etc. He wants mature oak trees instead. Cut down and remove the redwood at our expense and plant new oak trees, also at our expense because, you know, screening. We decline, which sends the famous architect guy and the wife into a rage. They decided to move forward with their project anyway, and the major earth moving, concrete forming, irrigation, etc. are all getting placed. Mr. Drone Guy continues to make efforts to get the oak trees swapped in under threats that maybe some of the work we're doing isn't covered under the permit. Seems he also acted as the general contractor for his own remodel, so he must really know what he's talking about. He sends emails, registered letters from his lawyer, all in an effort to get us to swap out the trees. Finally, we are within sight of completing our project, and from the second floor, we can see that they have really transformed their whole yard into little parklets with mature plantings and walkways and all the other stuff. It's impressive. So, I called the town for a courtesy inspection prior to the final, and the next day the inspector and old friend, whose father is also an old friend, stopped by to tour the property for any red flags. I save the best for last and we make it upstairs and make it to the best possible viewing point of the neighbor's magnificent landscape project. My inspector friend casually but loudly says, "What the hell is all that? I never saw a permit come through for all that." And he bounds downstairs and heads back to the office, I'm guessing to pull files. Here comes the best part. Through abutting property searches that we always perform as due diligence, we discovered that the neighbor's side yard in its entirety is an 80-foot wide utility easement for the single largest underground water aqueduct for the entire region. It can't be built on. We kept mum. Now, because there is also a seasonal creek that crosses said easement, Fish and Game are notified of the work in progress. In addition, we now have the State Water Resources Board along with the major water utility company inspections and enforcement department making inquiries along with the town building department. No permit application was ever submitted for any of the work Mr. Drone Guy had done. Oof, our property was sold, and during some modifications for the new owner, we watched with subdued glee as every stick and stone was removed from the offending area and was to be left in a natural state for eternity. Major fines were also levied. Well, he was questioning if your work was covered under a permit, and his wasn't and got caught. Sucks to be him. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.